Scoring well and winning in Disc Golf Valley means you have to be good at throwing the disc accurately. However, you can improve your scores quickly by playing to your strengths and having a smart game plan. In this video, I'll break down how I categorize holes and decide how I'm going to try to gain strokes on my opponents on holes that I place into one of three categories. Category 1 holes are layup holes. These are holes where a birdie can be tough to get, and the eagle is very unlikely. On these holes, you gain strokes by getting birdie when your opponents might struggle to do so. A few examples here, for me at least, are Ikigai Spring 7 and Pioneer Bay 8. We have a long way to go and have to be fairly precise on each throw. Par 3 holes can be in this category too. Owlwood 9 comes to mind right away, as well as Highlanders Ridge 7 and Highlanders Ridge 9, where you're really not likely to get much more than the birdie, and it could be tough to even get that birdie in the first place. Category 2 holes are your run-it holes. These are safe ace and eagle runs. You gain strokes here by getting that ace or eagle when your opponents don't. This is where a lot of elite level matches are decided with what we term bonus strokes. Sunshine Glade 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all ace runs where birdie should be savable after a miss. Herringwoods 4 is another that you should be ace running every time. For me, Crow's Nest 4 is also in this category since I have a fairly high confidence making it over the top, which usually leaves a birdie at worst. Crow's Nest 9 is also here with a safe backstop for that eagle bid. Category 3 holes are never run it holes. Almost never run it. These are easy birdies that are pretty risky to run for the ace or the eagle. You gain strokes on these holes by letting your opponents be the ones to run them and your opponents making mistakes. For me, holes like Highlanders Ridge 1 and Highlander Ridge 8, most of the Northern Breeze par 3s, except Northern Breeze 2, which squarely falls into category 1 for me. I'm just trying to get the birdie there. Northern Lights 5 fits in this category because the OB directly behind the basket. And this category also includes some of the gimme eagles like Lakeside 2 or even the gimme albatross of Lakeside 4, where running it for the bonus stroke can bring considerable extra risk into play. Once you set your game plan, you should stick to it unless the circumstances absolutely require a change to add more risk. In event play, it's wise to never add that risk, since events are cumulative and scored against a large field. If you execute your game plan successfully, that's your biggest chance of success in event play. In fact, sometimes you need to take away unnecessary risks and even accept par just to avoid that bogey. This was Cahill Backwoods 2 during Global League for me. My drive had a bad roll, then my approach got offline behind a bush a little bit. I could have gotten really risky here to try to save this birdie, but I had so little confidence in that. It was an easy, right decision to just lay up and take that par, because going OB here could bring like bogey or double bogey very quickly into play. In multiplayer, you might choose to change the category of a hole based on your score versus your opponent. For example, Highlanders Ridge 6 is squarely in category 3 for my game plan. Never run it. It's a relatively easy birdie with big risk to the ace run. That would mean I'll lay up for birdie and hope to gain a stroke by my opponent running an ace. They probably wouldn't do that in most situations here. However, if I'm down a stroke on a 1v1 and Highlanders Ridge 6 is hole 9 of the multiplayer round, I'm going to do my best to run it and try for the ace, since it doesn't matter if I go OB and get par, and birdie or par is a loss, and it takes an ace to tie, so it's risk-free to run it. You might also make a change in an event or multiplayer round based on the wind power and direction. I will quote-unquote always run Oak Hill 2. However, in a 3 tailwind, my chances of acing are pretty low, and the chance of missing too long to save birdies pretty high. With a big tailwind, Oak Hill 2 moves from the run it category to the layup category to gain strokes by other people who aren't following the same game plan to minimize risk. They run it, they make the mistake and get par, you gain strokes. Now here's the most important part. Your game plan is unique to you. When you first start playing, every hole is in category 1, and that's perfect. you should be laying up every hole to get close enough to make birdie. As a new player, you're going to gain strokes on your opponents if you take birdie on every hole. Now, the first step to taking your game to the next level is to figure out which holes can move to category 2 and be safe ace or eagle runs for you. As soon as you get confident throwing in from within 100 feet, these holes come very quickly because you can make the comebacker every time. Here's a video to watch in the top right if you need to increase your confidence within that 100 feet. Solid first holes to add to this ace run category are Sunshine Glade 1 through 4, Herring Woods 4, Oak Hill 2, Coyote Canyon 8, and several of the Blueberry Thicket holes as well. As you play more, you're going to increase your confidence in scrambling for birdie when you miss, and your confidence in attempting a throw-in for eagle in a way that's relatively safe to make sure you can still make the comebacker and save the birdie if you miss. This is going to help add additional holes to your category 2, where you're taking bids at gaining bonus strokes over your opponents. Growing the number of holes that can fit into category 2 for you is, I think, the top way to increase your skill level and increase your results in multiplayer and events. The more holes that you can take a run at for bonus strokes, but still save that birdie or the elite eagle, if that's the case there, the better you're going to be doing. As an extra kind of elite level step, coming up with ace lines for those category 3 holes where a miss is almost always par or worse is the next step. Most of the time, you don't want to run ace, but having a good line to work with for when you're down in multiplayer and on the last hole can be a pretty firework way to end the match. So take a look at your game plan when you head into a match. Decide what you want your strategy to be on each hole, and then execute that game plan. You're not going to win every match, but I guarantee you that you will win more if you appropriately categorize holes into your game plan and successfully stay bogey-free.